My name is Portia, and I was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for real estate fraud. So what is real estate fraud? Because I didn't even know what it was when I got involved in these real estate deals. So in 2004 and 2005, when the market was going crazy, there were investors that were looking to buy homes and pull the cash out of them and use it to invest in other things. As you can imagine, that still happens today, right? At this time, there were billboards and advertisements saying, if you have a credit score of 700, you can buy a house. And that's really what happened. They had these loans, banks did. They were called liar's loans or ninja loans, where all you had to do is state your income, whatever you wanted. And if you had the credit score, you would buy the house. And the way that I got involved in it was I heard there were investors looking for these types of properties, these houses that had supposed equity in them. So I would find a homeowner that was willing to sell their home for $1 million and get a high appraisal on it, which right there, bells should be going off. But the homes would appraise for this. Let's say the home appraised for $2 million and I locked it up for $1 million. I would do a joint venture with the homeowner and say, you'll get $1 million at title and the rest of the money will go to the person that buys the home. And so maybe the homeowner would get $500,000. That's a lot of money for an investor to get. And then they have this home that they have a payment on and they're marking on the loan application that they're going to move into the home. So it's owner occupied, which in most cases they didn't move into the home. And then once they got their cash, in some cases they made the payment for a year, but when the market crashed, they walked away. So who's the victim on a deal like this? Well, you could say the bank is a victim, but the truth is the government bailed the bank out and the bank was in on the whole deal anyway. Mortgage broker certainly isn't, the appraiser isn't, and I'm not. We're actually all conspirators in a giant conspiracy. But at the end of the day, I was indicted. And really, the American people are the victims because the taxpayers ended up bailing out the banks. And that's what I did. And it was illegal. And it was something that I regret.
And she spent 5 years of a 7-year sentence away from her children. And she's now out there living louder. That's the host. She's the host of Living Louder. It's a podcast. She's also an author. Let me welcome to the show this Thrive Thursday, Portia Wilcox Louder. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen.
Yes. I was doom scrolling one evening and I came across one of your videos and then I went down a Portia Louder rabbit hole because I'm always thinking about what's coming next. I'm always thinking 10 years down, 50 years down the line. And I feel like when interest rates drop and the economy squeeze, we're going to have another subprime lending-esque thing happening as people try to refinance from their high interest rated spaces. They're going to come in, the predators are going to come in. So I wanted to talk to you because you're on the other side of it. And I feel like we're in grift culture right now. And so thank you again for coming in. Thank you for sharing your story because you share it in such a very matter of fact, there's no woe is me in it, which is also. So what do you know today that you wish you had known?
Yeah. It's confusing. I have people reach out to me often that are asking questions like, is that even illegal? Because I'm kind of involved in some things like that. I had an attorney reach out to me that watched one of my podcasts and she said, she was a whistleblower on the Enron fiasco. And she said, do you know that the majority of people I know in business are involved in something like this in some way, For me, I guess, and I think there's probably a lot of people out there that just feel like, and this is how I felt, like the rich are getting richer and I want a piece of it. Like I want to get involved. When I saw the real estate market just going bam, 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 just moving up so fast, and I saw neighbors that were building a spec home or buying a lot or just getting ahead, and I wanted to get involved. And I just went down a rabbit hole. I had people show me this model of, somebody wants to buy a house to pull the cash out. And I'm kind of a connected person. Like I can find people, that's what I even do now, just connect different people. And so I started connecting people and got involved in these deals. And, it's hard to explain, like that little clip that you just shared. I've probably tried to do that 10 times on social media. And every time people are just like, I don't understand. I don't understand. in a very simplistic way, people bought homes just to get the cash out of the homes and they borrowed as much as they could. What makes it difficult is that banks were fully aware and in on the transaction. Like everybody
Right.
was doing this. And then the loans were being sold. It was just happening everywhere. And
I, I
so,
start I start off the show today talking about the gambling, the sports betting scandal that has a lot of NBA and some
yep,
implications, and I feel like it's it's sort of like a red herring
right.
because there are some real crime, and I'm not saying it's not a real crime, but not a single bank president or
Oh,
CEO
wasn't
spent one moment in jail, and they
no,
were
they got
willfully.
yeah,
Thank you.
they got bonuses, and then what's that was what was so hard for me. Like when I was under federal investigation, I said, "Look, the banks. You're saying banks are victims. Like I can give you the bankers' numbers. We sent the appraisals, and they got their own appraisals. We told them what we were paying and what we were borrowing. It was fully disclosed to them. They're not a victim. You cannot make the bank a victim in this case. They're a conspirator. If it's illegal, it's illegal. And but it didn't work for them that way. It was like we have to have a victim and the victim has to be the bank. And that was really difficult for me. I guess what I have learned is this. I'm a hard worker. I mean, I had a photography company and I was grinding out as a business owner. You probably have business owners that get it. Like you work you sometimes think, oh, I want to be a business owner, and you're like, wait a minute, like
Yes.
the job was way easier. Like, what? Let
Yes.
me go get a job and let somebody else do all this headache. So I was already used to working hard, and I just think that um, there's something in your gut that tells you when you're kind of off the rails. Like I felt that when first it's like I want what everybody else has, just so everyone knows, like there's no magic bullet. There really isn't. Like I thought that there was like people know how to do this. I want to get in on it. And once I got in on it and started going, I realized like I was losing a lot of money. I wasn't just making money. It's like, okay, a couple of these paid out, but then I have these other ones locked up and I'm losing my earnest money or the interest rate's moving so fast. And so I would make some money, lose some money, and then it got to a point where I'm like, I just want to get out. Like, I just want to get to even. And by the time I was indicted, I had everything on the line. And then the market crashed. And so we pretty much lost everything financially. And I was indicted. And was so frustrated and scared, honestly. Like the feeling when the FBI shows up at your house, nobody likes that. I mean, it was really awful. And they have a lot of power and they have a lot of money, so they can continue going. In the beginning, I had attorneys that said, look, you didn't, I don't think what you did was illegal and you're not that important. The banks are more important. And as it continued down this path, it became clear like they're going to bail the banks out. They're not looking for bankers. They've got to have somebody to show for this crash. And I'm like, why me? Why me? And they just said, it's just the way it is. So I would just tell people, like, if you're involved in something, it's kind of like speeding and there's 10 other people speeding and you get pulled over. It won't help you that everyone else was speeding because it didn't help me.
That's right.
And
That's right.
and it's happening. I mean, it absolutely will happen again. The market's about ready to do some things, and
I know.
it
I
can happen.
This is why we're having this conversation, and it's sad because the economy and all the things that are going on, it's not people's fault. Most of us are getting up every day. We're doing, like you said, we're working, we're paying our taxes, we're doing, and
Right.
then there's a squeeze, right? And then coupled with the over consumerism that is almost baked into our culture, where we're being inundated every single moment with ads to buy, pay later, and so you find yourself underwater, you got children or whatever, and the desperation sets in. And it's
Right.
almost like gambling on some
Oh
level where
yeah.
you're addicted to the culture
You got to
and now
keep
you have
going.
to keep it going. Got to keep it going.
Yeah.
And I just want people to be okay. So, for me, every day we are sitting here doing a show. It's Thrive Thursday, and I want to remind people that this is waiting for you if you're not careful.
Oh
And
yeah.
Portia Louder has the story.
Yeah, and don't, even if you see a billboard, because I saw billboards that were advertising this model, use your credit score, right? Use your credit score and get cash back on your house. I mean, that won't help you either. Like none of it will matter. Um, you really have to check yourself, and it's so difficult to do because the whole economy is going to do it. Like you're going to see so many people doing it. I have people every day that tell me, I did a bunch of those deals. really? That's illegal? I'm like, sorry, my number got called. If your number gets called, I mean, really, if you even check the box that you're going to move into a house and don't, because that's what they finally got me on. Like in their, they're like, we got to hit you on something. So they just said, you didn't move into the house. You bought it and said it was owner occupied. That's a fraud. It's an application.
I
If
mean,
you,
they have Letitia James and
yep,
Fonnie
same
Will.
thing.
Yeah. This is the
And
crime.
so many
Uh,
people do it. So, I mean,
yeah.
it's not a problem till it is. But if they want to get something on you, they can if you check the box. So,
Whew. As Congress can insider trade, but you can't.
oh,
It's bizarre.
yeah,
So you get convicted. I watched the story of you having to say goodbye to your children. It was interesting that they gave you 8 weeks to say
right.
goodbye. I'm like, who gets 8 weeks? There's a little
Oh,
privilege in
yeah.
that, Portia.
It was for sure privilege. And I didn't realize because my case went on so long. So, I mean, I heard I was under federal investigation. I went to attorneys. We tried to talk them out of indicting me before they even indicted me, which was a big mistake on my part because I just put too much energy and every dime we had, including retirement, into fighting this case, right? And then by the time I was actually indicted, that was in 2011. This real estate deal, these deals were from 2005. Then I fought the case still with attorneys, and I had I wasn't a flight risk. I wasn't a danger to myself or others. I had been on pretrial release. So you do get some privilege that I didn't understand until I got to prison and went, oh, everybody doesn't get this kind of treatment. I thought I got done dirty until I got to prison. And then I was like, oh my gosh, there's people with twice the sentence that I got. So it really put things into perspective. But as I was going through it, I didn't know anyone that had been to prison. I didn't know anybody, and I expected that I would get time to say goodbye and get my affairs in order. And then the day that I went into the courtroom, the judge was not happy with me. And he's like, take her into custody today. And the attorneys and prosecutor are like, wait a second, she has kids here. She needs to say goodbye. And so I was really fortunate. It was actually my husband that got up and he just really pled with the judge, like, please give her time. I think mentally, I may not have made it. Like, it was such a shock to me. Like, he gave me the maximum sentence. I was facing 0 to 7 years and he gave me the 7. And I needed that 8 weeks. And it really changed my whole view of everything. I could see how foolish I had been to have put that much time into anything other than spending time with my family. It just became really clear that I had been foolish about money and making it a bigger priority than it ever should have been. And yeah, saying goodbye to my kids was devastating. If you go to federal prison, you likely will not be in the state that you live in. It's hours away. So my first prison I went to was 14 hours away. My family can't come visit me on
Wow.
the weekends. Yeah,
Wow. What state was it still in? It wasn't still in the
wasn't in
state that
Utah.
you're
I
in.
went to Oakland, California, and I actually went to
Wow.
a prison that has been shut down now for misconduct, and I had to go back and testify on that. So that was a big mess. But I was in Oakland, California for a year, high security prison, which also people would say, well, you were a real estate fraud. Why'd you go to high security? The feds get to do what they want. Just know that once you're in their jurisdiction, they decide. And although I liked the higher security prison, I really got to know people from all walks of life, and I liked that. But I also started blogging. So it's not illegal to write about your experiences and share it, but they can make your life more difficult. So they
Okay.
did that.
So first night you didn't want to talk to anybody. You're in a cell with another person. There's a
Right.
toilet. I mean, because I imagine you're a suburban housewife with
Yeah.
with
A
four
little bit of
with
a
four
shock.
children. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So what was that adjustment?
Yeah. You walk into a prison and it is a very cold and cinder block world. And you wouldn't know it because I go to prisons now all the time and I speak to people when you're just going in and out. But when you're residing there and you have a 7-year prison sentence, as soon as they slam the door, you are completely cut off from the outside world. My life will never be the same. Like, there is a very different feeling to being an inmate and having a sentence, any prison sentence. But that 7-year prison sentence when I walked in was so devastating for me. They put me, they strip you out and they give you new clothes, and then they
So
put
you're
you in,
you're stripped down in front of a bunch of people
you're
or
stripped
a
down in
couple
front of
people.
one officer, and it's a
Okay.
field officer, and she's going to make sure that you don't bring anything in, right? And then they give you khakis, and everyone wears the same thing in there, and you're kind of like, I'm not Portia Louder anymore. Like, I'm Louder, I'm a number, and I wear the same thing. I mean, it's a, it's an experience. Like you don't feel there's no, you're all the same. And it really, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, there are a lot of great people in prison, whether people think that or not. It was just surprising how much that experience, how leveling that experience is. And I would say, even as leveling as that was, it wasn't near as painful as just the reality of the separation from my community and my family. And out here, we're used to distractions, a cell phone or this. None of that's available, and everything just stops for you. And then you're faced with total heartbreak. I've heard the men, they just say, get it together. They're not as sympathetic, but man, I was so devastated. I couldn't even
You had
breathe.
a baby. You
I
had
had
just
yeah.
was it 1 year old? You had a 1 year old before you?
I had, no, I had a newborn when the FBI showed up, but by the time I walked into prison, she was 7. So her whole life
Okay. Oh, wow.
had been me dealing with that. And then, but they sentenced me to 7 years. So, I mean, I was just sentenced to her whole life in prison. And she was really attached to me. I mean, it was heartbreaking to leave her and to watch my children, teenage kids that, this was just really, really painful.
Mm.
And I remember I couldn't even breathe for like 3 days. I didn't even get out of my bed.
We're we're gonna go to a break. When we
Yeah.
come back, I want to know some things. 866-801-8255, Portia, about what we can do now, like in terms of finances and things. And if you had a crystal ball, you could do this all over again. What would you do differently? Is the Karen at the show?